angle. All right, joining me now, my legal eagles, Mike Davis, Article 3 Project President, former law clerk to Justice Gorsuch, and Brett Tolman, former U.S. Attorney and Executive Director of Right on Crime. Mike, let's start with you. I want to Jen Psaki it for a moment, circle back to one of the prosecutors that I mentioned in the angle, Matthew Colangelo. Watch.
Why Matthew Colangelo? Why would he give the opening?
One of the things that Alvin Bragg has done extremely well is to pick prosecutors not only who are experienced, but also who have experience and knowledge about Donald Trump. And Michael Colangelo is another example of someone who helped to prosecute the Trump organization. This is someone who's an extremely experienced prosecutor and knows his way around a courtroom.
Mike, he made just nothing of the fact that Colangelo, of course, previously one of the top officials at DOJ, and he also worked for Letitia James. So no involvement at all, not the appearance of involvement from this administration?
Yeah, so Matthew Colangelo, as we've talked about for a long time, Laura, on your show, he was a senior political appointee in the Biden Justice Department. He was the acting number 3. He was on the parachute team, and then he was the number 2 to the number 3. Before that, he worked for the Obama Justice Department. He worked for the Obama White House for Tom Perez, for Eric Holder. This guy is the Forrest Gump of this lawfare against President Trump. He just seems to keep popping up everywhere.
Well, Brett, I want to talk about what happened today. We had the gag order hearing. We're going to get into a little bit of that later. But the appearance of having the Biden-Obama Justice Department running, really as lead prosecutor, running this case. And for all intents and purposes, I think Mike would agree with me, Colangelo's running this case. He's doing the nuts and bolts work to develop the arguments, if we're going to call them arguments. They're certainly not valid day in and day out. What's the appearance of that? What does that say to the rest of the country?
Well, let's ignore the fact that it typically would be a step down for, a federal prosecutor to leave the lofty heights of DOJ to then jump into a district attorney's office, but not in this case. This case, it was a step up because the objective here is to take down Donald Trump. But I sat and I listened to the opening remarks, the opening statements, and I've listened to the questions and what's been asked of the witness so far. And Laura, I have to say, it makes me wonder if this prosecutor has even read his own indictment. I have never seen an individual be more off track than this prosecutor in this courtroom. The conspiracies, the effort to bring in evidence that I think later is going to be a real problem for them if it does go to appeal, if they do happen to get a conviction. It would be absurd to convict in this case, but you're not hearing about the falsification of business records. You're not hearing about any of the elements that he has to prove in order to get a conviction on what he's charged. Instead, you're hearing about what they want to talk about, which is the conspiracy. But I would say this, Laura, what political candidate is not trying to influence an election? They have yet to even articulate facts that suggest a crime or criminal intent, even close on this president.
Yeah, that's what that New York Times, no conservative law professor argued today. I was shocked the Times reported it, but I think they kind of see what's coming down the pike here. Mike, one thing that made me howl laughing today was when the other nets were just desperate to try to make this day of trial coverage seem interesting when they're outside of the courtroom. Watch this.
Yeah, here we have an update. So right now, Trump is passing a note to his attorney, who put it in his pocket.
Right now, David Pecker, we're told, is inside the courtroom. He's at the witness stand. He's sipping water. Trump attorney Todd Blanche grabbed a binder from the defendant's table.
At one point, our team said it was so quiet in the room that you could only hear Trump thumbing through that stack of papers.
Mike, he's thumbing through things. He put a note in his pocket. Did someone burp at one point in time? We missed that coverage.
Yeah, remember the Washington Post and the New York Times both reported like a year ago that this was a dog of a case, and they know this is a dog of a case, but yet here we are in this trial because the other cases, the other 3 criminal prosecutions couldn't get to trial like they wanted, so this is the case they're stuck with, their worst case, and so they're trying to put the best possible gloss on it. They're putting lipstick on a pig.
But Brett, they're trying to argue that this gag order is like basically a threat to the trial if it's violated by Trump. So they're trying to bootstrap a violation of a gag order that, in my mind, is the fruit of the poisonous tree from the actual fraudulent case itself to try to, I don't know, continue this farce a little longer?
Well, Laura, I've had cases in which a gag order was ordered by a judge, and a few of them, they're very infrequent. But I have never in 25 years in the criminal justice system seen a gag order that was applied actually to the defendant. It's typically applied in order to protect the defendant in a case. And if it is applied, it is applied to everyone in the case. But now you have Michael Cohen, who can say anything he wants to say about the president, and then the president who can't respond.
All
I've
the
never
rules
seen
can
anything
be
like
bent.
that.
All the rules can
Yes.
be bent, like or used like silly putty when Trump is involved. Mike and Brett, thank you both.